Are live back with another edition of your wildest fantasy football show
Oh yeah,
on a Wednesday. We normally don't do shows on Wednesday. It is a special case. Whether you want to interpret that special as something good or something bad, it is
right.
Thanksgiving this week, and we are going to be here at 2 o'clock until whenever we finish covering all of the games for this week. It is going to be an episode unlike any other, the ultimate Thanksgiving edition of your wildest fantasy football show.
Definitely is.
Also, we'll note to this, neither of us have any notes.
None whatsoever.
So what happens today is still very much up in the air. We don't know. What do you guys want us to cover? Please share with us, put stuff in the comments, not only for the sake of you getting your questions answered, but also the sake of us knowing what we should talk about. Because as
Right.
I just mentioned, we have no idea what we should talk about.
Not one idea.
So this is going to be a massive shit show. We'll figure it out as we go.
Definitely.
First thing I have to ask you, Toady, though, is candy corn a Thanksgiving candy?
It's not. And I say that not because it looks like a corn, but it's a candy. I say that because it might be one of the more disgusting candies ever created and therefore should never be eaten, i.e., not a Thanksgiving candy.
I don't know if that should take it away from being a Thanksgiving candy, though. Like, there's some stuff at Thanksgiving that I don't think should be eaten that other people eat. I think it's just the colors. The colors of it give off a very much Thanksgiving vibe. And then obviously corn as well makes it fit into there. I think it's an interesting topic of debate, but maybe not a topic for us to go too in depth about. We
Right.
do have a bunch of games to cover, starting with the Thanksgiving games. I want to say before we get into it, there are 3 games on Thanksgiving, meaning
That is
6 teams. A little quick math for you. 6 teams playing on Thanksgiving. Keep that in mind when, number one, setting your lineups, making sure that those guys are in your running back and like wide receiver slots or not in your flex spots. Keep your Sunday flex guys in there because if an injury is to pop up, if something is to happen, you want that flex spot open more than you want that singular running back or wide receiver slot, just to give you some roster flexibility. So
right.
keep in mind that when putting people in your lineup. And then, two, when you're trading for people, some people have 2-day trade windows or trade processing time. Some people have a day trade processing time. Some of the Thanksgiving games, I believe the first game starts at 1. Dallas starts at 4. First one
Or
starts at 1.
so the Thursday game is 12:30 for
12:30.
Bears Detroit.
We
So
have no notes. It's all over the place.
I have all the knowledge will be gifted.
Beautiful.
Yes.
But keep that in mind when trading, that if you're trading for a guy, much like Thursday games, a little bit earlier in this case, if you're trading for a Chicago or Detroit player, which we probably don't suggest in many cases, unless it's DeAndre Swift or David Montgomery.
Correct.
But if you are trading for one of those guys and it takes you a day to process it, will not go through this week as of right now. You have a couple hours left to do a deal for any Raiders or Cowboys. Just keep that in mind when trading for this week. There's a lot more Thursday games and a lot more players to account for when trading and just overall roster management at this point. But into the first game, Chicago at Detroit. Chicago slight favorites here with the backup quarterback bowl. It's quite possibly one of the grossest games that we could see in a very long time, which isn't that something very exciting to wake up to on Thanksgiving? Hungover, you smell the food in the air. It's just the start of the process. And much like the little giblets that you're taking out of the turkey, kind of nasty. Chicago versus Detroit, also nasty.
I'm definitely going to take the over on this game. Just, massively explosive offenses. I do think DeAndre Swift's in for a great day. I think he is the one guy who I'm really looking forward, if I am going to watch the game, which I probably will because it's just a football game on Thanksgiving, and I need something to watch as I take my nap. But I think this is the guy who I'm most looking forward to watching is DeAndre Swift just tear apart this Bears defense.
Yeah, everybody's starting Swift and Montgomery, obviously. I think the real question comes into play with Darnell Mooney, who just had a monster week last week. Andy Dalton in at quarterback for the Bears. Second Take Extra was saying that means big things for Allen Robinson. I think that could mean decent things for Darnell Mooney. If you are in a position now where you have really good options, I wouldn't necessarily feel great about starting Mooney. But if you're like most teams and flex varies week by week, I would feel fine with starting Mooney in my flex this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not loving it, but again, you're playing the Lions. I think the Lions are definitely a better team than the record suggests, or at least their head coach is doing a better job than the record suggests. But again, it's going to be the first day or the first game of the week, and it's a Thursday at 12:30. So you kind of have to feel real confident about Mooney starting for you because he's either going to take one of your wide receiver slots, or obviously your flex, which would definitely have you for the rest of the way, the rest of his games. So just plan accordingly. I'm not all in on Mooney, but he did have a nice week with Dalton last week. So
yeah, I feel good about Mooney. He's obviously the receiver in this offense that you want just based on the target share and his overall production. Like, he's really the only guy that's consistently producing here. I like him as a flex option. I don't like him much more than that. As for Detroit, I don't think there's anybody else besides Swift and Hawkinson that really needs to be in your lineups. I think we can both agree on that, right?
Right.
What is the worst Thanksgiving food?
Those like cranberry slices, that's like my least favorite.
That's
food.
A bad choice. I say, very unpopular opinion here, stuffing. Stuffing's just wet bread, unnecessary. You don't dunk your bread in just water to eat it.
You definitely are like not getting the right sort of stuffing. My grandma makes just delightful stuffing. It's way more elegant than just wet bread. Grandma, if you're watching, which would be awesome. I didn't know you played fantasy football, but if you're watching anyway, just know that I love your stuffing. Green bean casserole might actually be my favorite food. Not the turkey, not the ham.
Green bean casserole is very good.
Yeah, not like a lot of people, kind of sleep on the green bean casserole. Like, oh, green bean, healthy food. Why would I eat this? Give me ham, rolls. Not me. I'm a big green bean casserole sort of guy.
I agree with you. That might actually be, I like broccoli casserole as well. Any green vegetable that you want to throw in your casserole, I am on board.
Right.
Vegas at Dallas. Dallas big favorites in this one. As for the Dallas side of things, CeeDee Lamb was at practice today. It would be a very quick recovery if he is able to get out of the concussion protocol.
Right.
We will see whether that is possible or not. I would just stay updated on that because it seems like that is a call that is going to come down to the last minute. If he is in the lineup, you are playing him. If he's not in the lineup, you're starting Cedric Wilson. I think there's question of whether you should start Cedric Wilson, even if CeeDee Lamb is to go.
Yeah, I mean, Cedric Wilson is an interesting guy to consider. Obviously, you like a lot more if CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, but Raiders are pretty decent against wide receivers this year in terms of fantasy points to them. So that means they could lock down a guy or two. And if CeeDee Lamb is out there, the defense is going to obviously go to CeeDee Lamb first just because of his talent that he has. So Cedric Wilson could still get some productivity and just based off the matchup. But yeah, I like it. But I definitely like it more so. Obviously, if CeeDee doesn't play, it'd be a case by case basis for Cedric Wilson if CeeDee does play.
Agreed. It depends on your options, as all of these do. Doesn't depend on your options when it comes to Zeke. I know that I had some unfortunate statements on Zeke earlier in the week, but you are playing him for sure if you have him. He was a full participant in practice yesterday, so he is likely going to be out there unless we see anything unforeseen happening. And not really anybody else. Obviously, you're starting Dak on that side of the ball. As for Vegas, Renfrow, Waller, are you starting Derek Carr against a Dallas team that has kind of been up and down on defense?
2 quarterback leagues, yes. Nothing more than that, though. He's not a guy I'm streaming this week. I listed like 2 or 3 guys on waivers yesterday who I think are going to have very productive weeks. Derek Carr, despite being, a guy who can throw for a bunch of yards, does not really get you much value of his feet. And as fantasy football goes, you need to have an obscene amount of passing yards to compensate for, no rushing yards, or you just need to be a rushing quarterback to be viable in a fantasy league setting. Derek Carr is not that, but again, 2 quarterback leagues, absolutely. He's a very good number 2, but I'm not going to use him for a streaming option in regular leagues.
Sounds kind of just up the alley of where I was going to go. It's not the worst matchup to have with Dallas, obviously, but I think you can find better options out there, hopefully.
Exactly.
Another interesting name, and I think more of where we have some question marks, is going to be in this backfield with Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. It's tough to go. That was a little yawn. We can't be getting tired already, Toady. We have a long ways to go.
I've been up for a long time. I'm sorry. It's been a day, boys and girls. Bad day.
But Kenyon Drake, projected for 8.5 this week, has been a little bit down since his kind of big stretch of 3 games where he had at least 16 points, had 5.1 in week 10, and then 3.9 in week 11, 6 touches in both of those games. It's safe to say that you're staying away from him in pretty much all cases. Josh Jacobs, on the other hand, is a little bit harder to stay away from. He had a really good, kind of like encouraging day. I'm throwing out a lot of encouragement. It's Thanksgiving week. I don't know what. I mean, I like to think that the Pilgrims were always very encouraging to Native Americans, where they were like, "Hey, come here." Like, I'm very encouraged. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm already losing my mind. I keep trying to make connections here, and it's very tough.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, he had 11.1. He's had double digits in every game besides one game. He's not the guy you're most excited to start, but he's certainly not the most disappointing player to have as a solid floor RB2.
Right, I'm with you. Josh Jacobs, it's going to be a down game. Dallas is pretty good on defense this year, so temper some expectations, but I don't think it's going to lose you your week with, like a 3-point performance. 9, 10, 11 points, something like that is what I'm predicting for him.
Agreed. And if he gets in the end zone, which he has not had happen for him in this game or in recent games, the last 3 since the bye. I think he can put together a 5-point week for you or a 15-point week for you. Jeez. We're 15 minutes in.
We are 15 and already dead.
Yes. Actually, this is around where most of our shows end. So I think it feels like, even though we're at the beginning, it feels like we're almost at the end, which I don't know if that's, again, encouraging or just putting us in trouble for a lot of issues to come.
I do normally take a nap after our show, so we will see if the trend continues to do it at my 3:00 nap time.
There we go. Last game of the night on Thanksgiving is Buffalo at New Orleans. Buffalo obviously coming off a big loss, as is New Orleans. Both of these teams gave up 40 points in their last game. I think that I believe in Buffalo to get right a little bit more than New Orleans. But I also think this New Orleans defense is for real. I just don't know if they're going to have the offensive production to keep up with Buffalo. And that starts with the weapons, and they just don't really have many. They have Mark Ingram right now. Alvin Kamara still hasn't practiced, has an MCL sprain, I believe, and has missed the last 2 games. I have a question a little bit more general before we get into the specific game. What are you doing with Alvin Kamara if you have him?
I think you try to piece him. I think you can still get a good running back, like an RB1 for Kamara and not have to lose anything for it. But they're playing Buffalo, Dallas, Jets, Tampa Bay, and then Miami, Carolina. So not like the easiest schedule, like some hits and some misses. Kamara is a guy who, with the right quarterback back there, is matchup proof. Taysom Hill is the kryptonite to that, where we saw some, consecutive bad games from him last year. So again, if it's Trevor Siemian, I'm more confident that he is matchup proof. But again, he doesn't have like the easiest schedule coming up. I think you could find someone if you're trying to make a playoff push. But again, if you hold him, he is a guy who is one of the more matchup proof players in the league, especially with all the injuries that have happened so far.
Would you rather have Zeke and Pollard or Kamara and Ingram rest of the season?
Kamara and Ingram.
What about Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon?
Give me Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
Okay.
Better offense.
Okay.
Cowboys are a good team. They have a great O-line, so anyone can run behind them. But Zeke...
I mean, we've seen them kind of not be as efficient, and we see people hurt on the offensive line, which has a big part to do with that as well.
They're not healthy on the offensive line, but when healthy, they have one of the best, if not the best in the league. But again, I think that just with the injuries that Zeke's been dealing with, you're going to start Zeke, and then he might miss like a quarter of 2 of a game. And by that time, you're already, started him. So you have to deal with the fact that Pollard's going to have a good game. Whereas I feel like when Aaron Jones is healthy, which there's a chance it's this week, but more than likely it's going to be next week. It's his show. And
I don't know that I would say that.
I mean, Aaron Jones has been putting up very good fantasy numbers earlier on in the season. So I'm more confident that he's going to continue to do it. And I mean, AJ Dillon is a very good backup. I think he's comparable to any other backups in the league, really, besides Kareem Hunt and Pollard.
I mean, I think that they split touches. Like, there was a lot of concerns about Aaron Jones's carries, and there wasn't that much concern when it came to, or wasn't as much concern on touches as it came when it came to Zeke. I think that I still think they're going to split time. I would probably. The only tough thing about Kamara is you don't know how long this is going to stretch into, and if they keep losing games, are they going to just shut him down? And I don't think they're going to do that with the other guys. So that's why I think I would rather have either of the other guys right now, unless we figure out more information or unless this team starts winning. It's tough. I just don't want the guy holding Kamara and then them to keep losing and then just say, yeah, he's done, because we don't want to risk it. So, and we are seeing some progress with Aaron Jones. We'll see how the Zeke injury holds up. He's had a couple little nicks and bruises so far, but I think I would rather have either of those guys at this point in time.
Yeah.
As for this game, what was that?
Yeah, I said Zeke's really close. I just think, just personal preference, I think Kamara, if he is healthy, is the more explosive guy out of the two, just because of his like pass catching elusiveness. When he is in the open field, he is as hard to catch and tackle as anyone. This is why I like him. But again, personal preference. All three of these guys, if healthy, are among the top 4 to 8 backs in the league. So,
I agree. I would rather have Kamara if healthy as well, 100%. Right. As for this game, I think you're starting Mark Ingram. He's produced for you. I get that it's a tough matchup, but we've seen what Jonathan Taylor did with that matchup. Not saying Mark Ingram is Jonathan Taylor, but
pretty good first.
You don't need all of that. You don't need a 51-point week. If you can have a fifth of that Jonathan Taylor production, you would be pretty happy with what Mark Ingram has given you there. I'm not starting any of the pass catchers. Troutman is maybe the only one that I would consider. We talked about him, but he wasn't on either of our waiver wire looks.
Nope.
I'm still trying to find other options, but tight end's a weird position. If you need somebody or a shot, I just don't. I don't know that it's Troutman, but I just don't trust this offense in the Saints to get up and down the field enough that he's going to score a touchdown, because that's kind of what it is with tight ends, is relying on that touchdown.
Right. Buffalo had a fluke last week. Their defense did not really look good. And
they just played a better team.
Not really. They played the Colts. But anyway,
that seems a little bit of a shot.
I think their defense definitely is better this week. So Troutman didn't make the list just because I think Buffalo's defense is going to be much harder this week. And back to the defense that we know they are. The number 1 defense in the league, number 2 this week, just because of that poorest performance last week. Are you starting any of the Buffalo wide receivers besides the great man Stefon Diggs?
No, I've kind of been out on these guys for a while. I think for me, it's Knox, Josh Allen, obviously.
Yep.
Even in a tough matchup, you're still sticking with him, and Diggs. I'm not going any of the other wide receivers. I've kind of been in that camp for a while, and after last week, I don't know if you could start either of the running back or any of the running backs now that there's 3 either.
Yeah, I'm with you. Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen are the 2 guys I'm confidently starting. Dawson Knox is a good tight end. Definitely made the waiver wire a couple times. Just not. Again, it all depends on if you think they're going to score touchdowns. That's all it is for the tight end. And I think there's a couple of guys this week who have a better shot of scoring a touchdown than Dawson Knox, just because of the vast. Well, I mean, if you look at it, they have 3 running backs, Josh Allen, and 3 wide receivers. So that's 7 other people who are all touchdown hungry. Granted, Devin Singletary does not really get a whole lot of red zone work. So cut that down to 6 people besides Dawson Knox. That's still a huge amount of people. Whereas, Logan Thomas doesn't have as many, playmakers who are going to demand touches down there. Tyler Conklin is not the number 1 threat when in the red zone. Tyler Conklin only has 4, or he is number 4 on the chart because Kirk Cousins does not run the ball. So, I mean, that's just why I think that there are better options in terms of guys who have a chance to score this week. And New Orleans is pretty good to in the tight end. They're 8th in terms of fantasy points at tight end. So, a lot of things.
I'm not sure if there's 12 better options. I think there's definitely some better options. I'm just not sure that there's 12. It's normal what we talk about for like our standard leagues.
Mm-hmm.
He scored a touchdown in 4 of his 8 games that he's played. And he's coming off a 10-target game. I get that they were getting blown out, and the game before that he had 1. I believe in Dawson Knox as a definite tight end starter, like kind of in the camp of that Noah Fant-esque guy where he's good enough that you don't have to ever search for another starter, but I don't feel he needs to put up like he's still going to be kind of dependent on either great volume like he had last week or a touchdown. So I do like Dawson Knox as a start this week if he is your tight end. Going into the weekend, are you a big leftovers guy, Cody? Is that like how you're going to be spending your weekend, just eating up turkey sandwiches?
I'm
without
not
the cranberry sauce on top.
I don't use the cranberry sauce, but I'm not a big leftover guy. Just not who I am. I don't know why.
Seems a bit wasteful.
Well, no, like I'll eat the green bean casserole and I'll have the turkey, but like I can't have old mashed potatoes. I just don't. I don't put that on the take home plate. I don't put stuffing on there either. I don't really even. I take the rolls if they're certain rolls. I'm pretty picky when it comes to my bread. Just is what it is. Always going to be that way.
I would love to hear more about your bread selection.
So the outside has to be kind of hard. Not hard enough where you like hurt your mouth, but hard enough where you can hold it and it doesn't like start to like fold. Like a nice crisp outside. And then the inside has to be just light and airy, very like almost see-through in some spots where they have the holes where the bread just came through. And that is probably my favorite sort of bread. Rolls are different. Rolls along the same lines with like they have to have a softer outside than the bread does and still have that nice airy inside. It has to be a nice cut. It has to be able to be cut. If it like completely deforms when you cut it, the bread's just too soft and doesn't lead to good sandwich making material. Doesn't lead to good dipping for the gravy. So it's kind of tough. It takes years to like master the perfect bread selection, and I understand if you guys mess up the first couple of times. I did too, but after a little bit, you just kind of get it under your belt and you figure out what's good and what's not good.
Experience is key. Ben Roethlisberger has a lot of experience at a lot of things, and football is one of them.
That is true.
I'm not sure that's making him great this year, but he has been great in the past, and we shouldn't take that away from him. It's just that I don't know that he's the guy you want in fantasy. I don't think he's anybody we have to talk about in this game anymore, but it was a good transition at the time. The person we do want to talk about, 2 people for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 3 people actually. Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth. Big kind of news for him was Eric Ebron hurt, expected to miss, I believe, the rest of the season. And that kind of just opens the door for Pat Freiermuth even more than was open, which is a lot. The door was wide open. There was no privacy given to that room. So those are the 3 guys that I think I'm going with for the Steelers. Is there anybody else you're looking at?
Chase Claypool is an interesting option. He's coming off of a nice week last week, 14.4 points. They're playing Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati has a very good offense. They have 3 wide receivers who can all run, catch, jump, high five, and all that good stuff out there. They have, Joe Mixon in the backfield, and they have a quarterback who can deliver to them. I like him. I think that Chase Claypool could get some touches in this game just because I think it's going to be a pass happy game. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. It's kind of what I'm hoping for. I think that both these offenses have the potential to be high scoring and just elevate their game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Chase Claypool is an interesting flex option. We all know how I feel about divisional games. They scare me. They scare me a lot. I never know what it's going to be like. And even with the over under here, like they're not projecting for a super high scoring game. So I'm a little bit more passive on my hopes for this game. I think just divisionally, it could keep the score down. Two teams that each other a lot. I probably wouldn't love to go with Chase Claypool just because I'm going to be honest. When Juju went out, I said he's going to be in your lineups all the time. He has not been that good. Last week was his first double-digit game since week 5. So I kind of just don't trust him off of that. But I get it. I mean, he had 9 targets last week. He's had 5 targets in every single game so far this year. And we know that they like to look at him in the red zone. I think Freiermuth is taken away from that a little bit. But Chase Claypool, I think, has as good of a chance to like be a red zone option for his team as anybody. It's just how often is Pittsburgh going to get into the red zone? The offense looked better last week, but we will see this week. Cincinnati, I don't think much has changed from last week. It's still kind of the same favorites there. My question, because you're starting Ja'Marr Chase, he didn't have a great week last week, but I still think that he's probably – you're not fading him off of that.
Right.
T. Higgins had a little bit of a rough week, 2 for 15, 3 targets, 3.5. Does that worry you at all?
Slightly. Just because the offense, they do have weapons out there in T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Ja'Marr Chase, CJ Uzma. I think they have weapons and choices to throw to. I'm not like dropping him. He's not a drop candidate for me just because he does get volume, he does get looks, and there is always a potential that he does go off. I'm just a little bit hesitant this game, but again, I think they're going to throw. I think he's going to have a bounce back game. But I'm just like, again, matchup very much, or not matchup, sorry. Your personal team matters a lot, and who you have that you'd be sitting to start T. Higgins. Look at that pretty closely if they're going to be in a more favorable matchup.
Are you starting T. Higgins or Ja'Marr Chase? Or T. Higgins or Chase Claypool?
Give me T. Higgins. I like the quarterback more.
Just think the offense is a little bit better in Cincinnati. Obviously, starting Joe Mixon as well has been on a rip. You're starting Joe Burrow if you're looking for a streaming quarterback this week. I don't think he's out there in a bunch of leagues, but probably around 40%. Really?
He is rostered. He's rostered in 85% of leagues. So Joe Burrow's not out there in most leagues.
He hasn't had double digits in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even starting him. He's starting in 38%. So, like, they just have him on the bench, just chilling there, killing a spot. Make a low ball offer. You know, Chris Evans for Joe Burrow, just because Chris Evans is Captain America. He'd probably steal that bundle. So, try to low ball for Joe Burrow, you know.
I suppose. So are you streaming him this week? If you have him sitting on your bench, are you like, this is the week where I'm not going to waste a roster spot. I'm going to put it in the lineup?
No. Again, it depends on who your other guy is. Kondo is completely frozen.
Probably.
Better. Oh, there you are. If it's Derek Carr or Joe Burrow, give me Joe. I just think he has a better chance this week. But again, you have some more mobile quarterbacks out there who I think are going to give you some more productivity with their feet. Because if Joe Burrow throws for 300 yards, Tyrod Taylor throws for 270, but runs it 8 times for 35 yards, Tyrod has the better game, and despite the fact that Joe throws more. So, again, I think you can just find a more mobile quarterback than Joe Burrow, especially since it's a divisional game. Definitely going to be a little bit closer. Don't think the offenses are going to be. I think they're going to pass a lot. It's going to be pass happy, but I don't think they're going to be scoring a whole lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that, yeah. Moving on.
Hey,
I'm going to be honest. I just completely forgot what we were talking about as soon as I started talking. So I still don't remember what we were talking about. Joe Burrow. Yeah. Whatever Cody said. Tampa Bay at one of the teams that some are saying are the hottest team in the NFL, if not the best team in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts. For the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, I think Michael Pittman is going to bounce back week against Tampa Bay secondary. Has not been great. That's kind of it for this offense, unless you think about putting Carson Wentz out there, which I don't think is an awful idea.
Don't think about it.
Really?
I'd probably go with Joe over Carson. But again, personal preference. Carson, he has had some good weeks. I mean, he's the number 10 fantasy quarterback as of right now. So you can go with him. I just don't have like a strong feeling he's gonna, be a top 12 by the end of the week. I think he's gonna be a little bit outside of it. And I think that you can find some guys who could potentially get you a couple more points than Carson. But again, he's not a guy who you have to like drop and forget about right now just to pick someone else up. Fine option, just there's definitely better options. I think that a little bit more mobile since it is a fantasy league. Mobility is key.
Yeah, I think it's probably more in the 2 quarterback league that Carson Wentz a little bit more valuable. Definitely. I think that he has a good chance to have a solid week. They're just hopefully is better options out there that you can find. As for Tampa Bay, Mike Evans did not practice today. It didn't sound like anything too serious, though.
Yeah, I think he's just going to take the day off, Everyone wants a day off.
Godwin, they're starting him. AB, we're still kind of hearing news on him, whether he will be back or not. It seems like he didn't practice today, so it seems like it is going to be maybe another week before we see Antonio Brown. But if that's the case, then I think Godwin sustains his viability for another week.
Yep.
Gronk, obviously back in lineups as well. Anybody else?
Brady, Godwin, Mike Evans if he plays, Fournette, Gronk, and Ryan Suckup, the kicker.
There you go. Suckup shout out.
Yeah, I think those are the guys, obviously. Everyone above Suckup, if they play, if you're looking at their team, I think it's going to be fine. I don't really think that their backup running backs are going to get any love, so don't try to finagle them into the starting spot. Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller probably not going to have a big impact, so don't even worry about trying to pick them up and play them for the game.
Speaking about sucking up, what is the beverage of choice when it comes to your Thanksgiving dinner?
I always enjoy a nice Guinness.
Maybe a little eggnog.
Eggnog is
it's
okay.
Starting to get into eggnog season. I feel like Thanksgiving is the introduction to where eggnog is acceptable.
I like waiting till December for eggnog. I just think I think Thanksgiving just deserves its own little time, because if you think about it, people just kind of jump from Halloween straight into Christmas. Just skip the whole month of November where we should be thankful, Thanksgiving.
For the month of November, yes.
Right. And I just think people aren't doing it enough. So I just kind of like to pay a little homage. Like I don't put Christmas trees up. I don't put decorations up until December. I just think it's keep November for Thanksgiving. Okay, that's just how I view it. Eggnog is delicious. Absolutely love eggnog, but I just wait till December 1st. Drink all the eggnog you want. Drink it to
Okay,
your
it's an
heart.
interesting choice. That being said, kind of the end to the Thanksgiving Day parade is Santa just coming in, kind of bringing in Christmas. Does that offend you?
It doesn't offend me. I'm not offended by people's personal choices to live their life how they want to. Santa's a great figure. Great figure.
Okay. We
I
are.
can't.
Well,
You're broken. You're broken.
yeah, we're very broken.
There you go. Now we're back. I know Santa doesn't offend me. I'm fine with being there because again, if they're gonna have different creatures and people in the parade, they might as well throw Santa in there. Santa's a very thankful guy. He only has to work one day a year. I think anyone who only has to work one day a year, pretty thankful guy. He has a wife who cooks him food all the time, keeps him jolly. So definitely a guy I think has a lot of thinking in his system. So guy I definitely enjoy seeing in the back of the parade.
Okay. I'm glad that we got your opinion on that. Carolina at Miami. I'll tell you what, 2 weeks ago said Robbie Anderson back. And kind of. I think if you want to say that he's back, you might be able to say that he's back. But is he really back? I don't know who's the ultimate determiner of who's back. But
Probably not
do
us.
you think Robbie Anderson is back?
I mean, Robbie Anderson definitely has a back. Otherwise, the shoulder pads would not fit, and it would just look funny. They're playing Miami. It should, fingers crossed, should just be a blowout. Carolina should. Cam Newton should lead this team to a blowout victory over Miami. Otherwise, he goes back to being the Cam that a lot of people throw shade on him for being, losing to teams that you should beat by a landslide. CMC should go off. DJ Moore should go off. Cam should go off. Robbie Anderson should get like 6 targets, but again, short yards on the target completion, so it's not going to lead to a great day. He doesn't eat up a whole lot of red zone targets, so the touchdown probability is down on him. I'm not starting him this week, but again, it's Miami. There's a chance he can, but I'm just not going to take that risk for my team. I don't think you should either.
That was bad.
That was terrible.
We're only maybe halfway through and already having internet problems. This is living up to the hype.
This is what people wanted to see.
I like Robbie Anderson as a panic flex in full point PPR because the receptions are going to be there, whether it be in the short area of the field. I just don't think he's going to lose you your week. If you're looking at someone who could be a little bit riskier, I think he is a safe option to just give you a floor, like give you that 8 points with 5 catches for 30 yards like he had last week. I think that he definitely do something like that again. And if it's in the end, then awesome. That's kind of what you're hoping for with Robbie Anderson at this point. DJ Moore in your lineup, I don't think you're feeling great about him yet. If you can trade him high after last week, I don't know what high would be, but would you try to look to move DJ Moore?
You can if you'd like to. Cam is a good quarterback. I just think that I think he looks to Robbie Anderson a little bit more than Sam did. So I think DJ's targets are going to decline a little bit, but I don't think that is super worrisome. But again, if you want to get a guy who is going to trend upwards a little bit more, while DJ Moore might trend downwards for a couple spots, I don't blame you for doing it. But I don't think you flip DJ Moore for like a wide receiver 2. I think you do it for a guy who is going to continually go up. Like I don't think you do it for Godwin.
Really?
I think Godwin goes down these upcoming
I think
weeks.
so too, but I don't think he goes down that to
Well,
the low that DJ has.
I mean, I think DJ has a better shot at being the number one wide receiver than Chris Godwin does.
I agree.
And DJ Moore really only has CMC, Cam, which also happens to be his quarterback, and Robbie Anderson to contend with, whereas Chris Godwin has Mike Evans, Gronk, Antonio Brown when healthy, Fournette, and Ronald Jones, and Bernard's
Yeah.
been getting a couple looks in
I
there
just
too.
don't, but they also throw the ball 50 times a game in comparison to Cam, who's happy if he throws it 35 times. Like, I just don't think the passing volume is there as much.
Yeah, I mean, it might go down, but again, I think he's not a guy I'm going to trade DJ Moore for, just because I think Chris Godwin's goes down a little bit just when Antonio Brown comes back. But again, wide receiver one, I just think him and DJ Moore are both going to be going down a little bit these upcoming weeks, and I want a guy who's going to be trending upwards in the following weeks, especially since it's playoff season. You want a guy going in the right direction rather than bringing you down.
I'm going to throw some more names out here I want to get your opinion on.
Okay.
One is Brandon Cooks. Had a bad week last week. I think if you can get Brandon Cooks, I would take that.
Yep.
If you could get Mike Williams or DJ Moore, who would you want?
DJ Moore. Mike Williams is a guy who I think people should have sold high on earlier on in the season. He got the same amount of targets as he's been getting for the past few weeks now, which is 6 a game. And he finally delivered on to get you a 20-point game again. So I think Mike Williams is going to go back down to those single-digit productivity numbers again. I'm not going to trade DJ Moore for Mike Williams.
I would do that. I would do that one just because I believe in the Chargers offense more. Not anything against DJ Moore. I just believe if I had to pick which one's going to be the better offense out of the two, I'm going the Chargers by a lot. That's really my pull for that. I don't blame anyone for going DJ Moore, though, because he is the number one in his offense. Tyler Lockett.
Again, DJ Moore. These Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett, those guys are they're the number 2 on their team. Granted, they're on good offenses, but they're the number 2 on their team. And both of those guys are kind of been trending downwards a little bit in the past weeks. DJ Moore hit a low. He started off the season real hot and then just kind of been sputtering a little bit. But I think he kind of turns it around. I mean, plays Miami, Atlanta, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, all teams that you can throw on. Buffalo being the one team that I think is more scariest of them all. But I think Cam Newton's running potential neutralizes the threat of DJ Moore cooking you. So I think he's in for a good schedule and a productive schedule, just especially if you're going to compare him to Mike Williams and Tyler Lockett.
On the Miami side of things, we can only say it so many times, but it's week 12.
Exactly.
12 is the even number. You're benching Myles Gaskin. Just don't play. Don't subject yourself to it. Don't say that we didn't warn you. It's the most predictable, just kind of, what would it be? Not like a routine, but most predictable, just weekly productivity of any running back ever. Any player in fantasy football, on an even week, Myles Gaskin is going to score single-digit points, and on an odd week, he is going to give you an awesome week. So you're benching him against Carolina, no questions asked. Carolina, good defense against the run as well. So you're benching him. You don't even think about putting him in your lineup unless you want a single-digit week. Then definitely.
So I'm going to put Myles Gaskin in my lineup just because it's playing Carolina, and if Jonathan Taylor can't drop 51 against Buffalo. I think Myles Gaskin can drop,
Okay, that's
double.
disgusting.
I think
Don't
Myles
even say those two in the same sentence.
I think
That is
Myles.
one of the most disrespectful things
I-
you have ever done on this show.
You need to let me finish my sentences.
Not when your sentence involves comparing Myles Gaskin to Jonathan Taylor. I don't think you deserve to finish it.
So Buffalo had the number one defense last week for a while now. Number one on to the run. Jonathan Taylor cooks 50. I think Myles Gaskin is good enough to get a fifth of what Jonathan Taylor got, which is double-digit fantasy points against number one Carolina defense. I'm going to put him in my lineup. He will be my flex. I'm going to ride or die.
I think that should be your bold prediction. And what might be like pretty cheap bold prediction, but also a very bold prediction is that Myles Gaskin gets double-digit points on an even week. That's kind of absurd. Anybody would ever suggest that.
I did put that on my thing. So it is on the list just because of, if Jonathan Taylor can do it, Myles Gaskin can too.
Now stop comparing. They do not deserve to be in the same conversation. I apologize to Jonathan Taylor for everything that he has been subjected to in the last 5 minutes. Tennessee at New England. Fantasy-wise, it's kind of a gross game. Not much to really look at, especially seeing how this Tennessee running game has changed after the show. Adrian Peterson got waived, and I picked up Dontrell Hilliard on my waivers in the league that we play in together. I did not think that he was going to be a pickup, and he was not on my list. But after that Adrian Peterson news, I just said, okay, they want to give this guy an opportunity. And the backfield is still pretty wide open. I don't know that I love it, but I think you can just take a bet on pretty much anyone at the end of your bench in this Tennessee backfield, and we have no idea how it's going to work out.
Yeah, literally no idea. I'm going to say Dontrell Hilliard, just full disclosure. I have Dante Foreman on my team. So if I say Dontrell Hilliard will go off, then Foreman will go off for me instead. So Hilliard's the guy who I think everyone should roster. That way we can all just confuse Tennessee and use reverse psychology on them. Because every time we say someone's going to go off, they say, haha, joke's on you. They're going to touch the ball twice and have fun with your 0-point fantasy week.
Reverse psychology is the best kind of psychology, or is it the worst kind of psychology?
It's definitely the best, just because you normally get what you want when you use reverse psychology. So,
if it's the best, then isn't the worst?
Yes.
So it is the worst.
No, it's the best because it is the worst, and it's also the worst because
I thought we'd want to say that it's the worst, so that would mean it's the best, just by reverse psychology.
Right. So it's the worst. If we say it's the worst, then it's the best, and if we say it's the best, it's the worst. But then it's like a circle. It's like a ball.
I wasn't sure if it went both ways.
Right. It's tough. It's tough.
On the New England side of things, I think you're starting A.J. Brown. You were harder on A.J. Brown than I was. If he plays, you're starting A.J. Brown. We got to see how his injury situation unfolds as well. And we got to see if I can look him up, because that's the biggest problem right now. Ezelis is questionable.
Right.
He did have negative x-rays on his chest, so we will see whether he is in. I'm starting him regardless, but I know that you do not feel as great about it as I do.
Right. So they're playing New England. New England is known for shutting down your number one option. A.J. Brown is now the number one option for the first time in his career. He has no one else to help him. He has no Julio Jones. He has no Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a huge force in which takes away all the offensive pressure from you when you have Derrick Henry, who can run through everyone on the field and run for 200 yards a game and 3 touchdowns. So A.J. Brown is now banged up, going into New England, which takes away number one guy, and is the number one guy with a backfield which is full of mystery. No idea who the number one guy is back there. All of them run sort of similarly, though, and they all can kind of catch. So, again, doesn't really matter who's back there. They all do the same thing at the same sort of level. So it's not like one guy is this powerhouse, one guy's a speedster. They all look pretty similar with the eye test. So A.J. Brown is in for a rough game. I'm not as confident as you are that he is going to be able to pull through it. I hope he does. Hope the best for everyone, always, because it's Thanksgiving. Be thankful, be giving. But I'm giving my love and affection elsewhere instead of to A.J. Brown this game.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the best game for him, but I just think he's too talented of a player to put on your bench. I would say definitely lower expectations, but I would still roll him out there. Who are you excited about for this game?
This game, Bill Belichick. I love him on Thanksgiving. Really makes me happy. I'm kind of excited for Jakobi Meyers. I think he understands it's Thanksgiving. I think a lot of people do. And I really think he's going to be like, hey, all my fantasy managers have been waiting for me to get a touchdown. I only have one on the year. I'm too talented to only have one on the year. I'll just give him 3 or 4 this game. So I'm really excited for him.
One in his career.
Yeah, it's not a high number. They are playing Tennessee, which is dead last in terms of fantasy points to the wide receiver. Mac Jones is an accurate quarterback. He, if you listen to the press conferences that he does, he is starting to sound more and more like a Patriots quarterback, which is great. So obviously the accuracy is just going to keep improving. So I think Jakobi Meyers is in for a good day. Damian Harris, obviously, if he plays, him and Ramondre Stevenson are going to be fun to watch, but not so much fun if you're a fantasy manager, just because Tennessee is really good against the run.
Yeah, I am kind of worried about these backs. I am worried, but I think I'm still starting them in a tough situation. I don't know. I feel fine with them as flex options, but now that we see the split and we start to see this becoming more of a committee, I think it's more hope that they get in the end zone. Flex kind of limits both of their upside as RB2s, and if they're anything, they're probably low fringe RB2s, which sucks because Damian Harris was really turning into a very solid RB2 for a lot of people.
Right.
Sucks for fantasy, obviously, but good for them to have 2 very productive running backs.
Exactly.
Going into Philadelphia at the Giants. Giants played on Monday night. We saw a few struggles from that. Did you just lick your pen?
Yeah, you've never done that?
No. Didn't
Oh.
I get ink in there?
No, so you lick your pen to get the ink, ready to be used, and then it comes out. If your pen's ever stuck, I'm not sure how many people use pens now because everyone gets text. But if you ever write a letter to your grandma or something, lick the pen, keeps the ink just flowing. If it ever stops.
I don't know if I want to be telling people to lick pens.
I think there's worse. There's definitely worse things we could tell them to lick, like fences. That's a bad thing to lick.
Worse than a pen?
Yeah, there's electric fences. There's barbed wire.
I suppose if we're talking electric fences, I suppose it depends on the type of fence. But
maybe.
You know who licks fences?
What was that?
What?
I heard something that sounded like a Mack truck coming through.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Nobody licks fences. It's just my transition to get into this game. I got a question from Niner49. Is this pre-recorded? Yes, this is pre-recorded.
Yeah, this is 100%. We're not doing it live. That would be too easy.
They had a comment earlier. I think that was why they had. Patriots are dog bleep for the kids at home. This is a kids show.
Yeah.
overrated right now. You can't win a Super Bowl with a game manager. The only game manager to do it was Brady.
Right. Brady does only have 7 championships, so I get where you're coming from. 100% correct. Cannot win with it. You need playmakers, like an Aaron Rodgers. Don't think he has one yet.
The thing that I think is the most interesting is that managers are typically a baseball thing.
Exactly. So do baseballs matter in football? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe there are baseballs.
I think that's an interesting question as well. Philadelphia at New York Giants. You know who I like in this game. I like Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders had a very productive day. Didn't turn into a great showing fantasy-wise last week because he didn't get many catches. But had 16 carries for 94 yards, had a fumble, unfortunately, as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like Miles Sanders a lot, and I think if you could buy low on him, I would do so.
Right.
I like him a lot as an RB2. I'm not saying that he's going to be an RB1 at the end of things, but I just think he's very talented in an offense that has shown since he was hurt a committal to the run, and I like his upside here, especially in this game.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest Miles Sanders advocate just because I think they do run it with committee a little bit more than some people think. And I'm not loving him. But again, if he is your RB2, I think there are maybe 1 or 2 worse options to have as your RB2. But again, they have shown a dedication to run. You'd like to see him catch a couple balls out of the backfield because, again, he had 94 yards last week and only got you 7.4 fantasy points. You need some catches to become a more viable, fruitful running back in this fantasy football league.
Is Kadarius Toney for the Giants going to blow up with Jason Garrett getting fired? I don't think it really affects like Toney's blow up. I think that Toney was going to fare well either way. I do like Toney in the game, especially if Shepard is not going to play. I think that he's definitely the receiver to have with the Giants at this point.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney, a guy who should be rostered more, has a very good chance to play. He did miss practice today with his quad injury. He just sat out. Saquon's a little banged up. Sterling Shepard's a little banged up. So, again, it all depends on who's going to be healthy. Out of Sterling Shepard and Kadarius Toney, that's kind of who I like to pick is whoever's the healthy guy. No one's healthy ever for the Giants, just how it happens to play out. But whichever guy's healthy, I like him.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Gets a little bit tougher when both of them get into the lineup. You really don't want to trust too many guys on the New York Giants, but I'd probably consider starting either of them as a flex option. I'm not totally against that.
Mm-hmm.
As for the Eagles wide receivers, we saw Devontae Smith come back down to life last week after 2 monster games. You're not worried about him, are you? You're still throwing him out there.
Right. He has 6 targets in every game. I think he has a good chance to get a touchdown. It's the Giants. If you don't think they can score in the Giants, then maybe you don't have faith in Devontae Smith. So I do because it's Thanksgiving. Going to give him all the credit in the world that he can do it. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. Jalen Hurts also has 3 other running backs back there with him to take the pressure off the top, force people to kind of crowd the line, load the box, leave Devontae Smith in one-on-ones, which he can do very well in.
9or49 is an absolute expert, and I think there's a lot of things going on, and I appreciate 9or49's comments.
Yeah.
Most of which just in disagreement with me. I can handle that. I think everyone deserves their opinion. I appreciate it, 9or49. The the knowledge that we're getting dropped on us. As we move into one of our 2 pick'ems today, Atlanta at Jacksonville. Cody, as I take a nap, I would like for you to tell me what's exciting about this Atlanta-Jacksonville game.
So I think the only person who anyone needs to be excited about is Cordell Patterson. If he plays, one of the more explosive guys out here, with the absence of Calvin Ridley, the team is squarely on him and Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has been underperforming as of the past couple weeks. He is still very good young tight end, but he just hasn't looked as good as he did weeks 5 and 7. So Cordell Patterson's who I'm really looking forward to. I don't know what Kondo is doing. Kondo's gone. But I'll move to Jacksonville. There he is.
All right.
Well, what was that?
I was sleeping.
Oh, okay. Have fun. James
yeah,
Robinson.
this game doesn't matter.
It matters.
Especially if Cordell Patterson doesn't play. It's
gonna play.
James Robinson, and that's probably it.
Kyle Pitts, James Robinson, Cordell Patterson.
I don't even love Kyle.
I don't love Kyle Pitts, but it's also Jacksonville, so I'm also going Dan the Man. I'm going running backs and tight ends from both teams. But Cordell Patterson's the guy who I'm really rooting for just because
You're trusting Dan Arnold after the 0?
I trust, everyone makes mistakes, okay? It's what it is. Pretty sure there's a famous song written about everyone makes mistakes. So
everybody has those days.
Yeah, I just think if there's anyone, you know how much I love rookie quarterbacks. Just absolutely love them to death. Think they're the best thing since sliced bread, which, as we talked about earlier, I'm a connoisseur of sliced breads. Even not sliced breads, connoisseur. Anyway, Trevor Lawrence is 6'5". Should be able to throw over most 6'1" defensive linemen. Dan the Man Arnold is big enough to just be standing on their side. I don't know if you ever had like a little cousin or someone, but
No.
you'd pick on them and you would
I don't have cousins. Don't believe in them.
Oh, well, I believe in them. But if they're smaller than you, you just throw the ball right over their head, and then they like chase you, and then like they chase the other person, and they throw it back over their head again to you. And it's just like a game of back and forth. But again,
short to keep away. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think that's what Dan the Man and Trevor can do against a stout Atlanta D line.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't mind him on my team, but I don't know if I feel great about starting him this week. I suppose if it's your option, if you have Kelsey out or something like that too, I'm okay with that. Marvin Jones, 7+ targets. Make it 8+.
Marvin Jones will have 7 targets exactly, so not 7+.
9 or the first take extra. Rest of life.
Give me first.
Long time.
I
don't know that there is a first take extra.
There is no thing as the first take extra. So give me the second take extra all day, every day. Number 1 fan, number 1 supporter, number 1 guy.
Oh boy, then I don't think 9 knows what he got himself into here.
Right.
Trevor Lawrence passing the eye test. What do you think about that, Cody?
I believe since he does not actively wear, glasses or goggles, as some people like to call them, his eyes must be good, i.e. passed the eye test. So yeah, he definitely passed it. I have to wear goggles because I failed the eye test in one eye. I got a half right, but again, they still make you wear these things. They won't give me a monocle because they said that went out of style back in 1605. And I said, I wasn't there. I'll bring it back. And they said no. So goggles it is. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence doesn't have goggles on when he plays football. Passed the eye test.
That's the nicest thing I've ever heard you say about Trevor Lawrence.
I said he was tall. I'd give him the height, dude.
Rex spec season, Cody.
God damn it.
Is it? You're the only one who can answer this. I don't wear glasses.
No. As someone who wore the Rex specs, just take them off. The hoop is not where you think it is when you wear Rex specs. It is. You look terrible because you shoot the complete opposite way. It's like playing basketball, football, baseball with drunk goggles on. It's just terrible. You don't want to do it. 1 out of 10. Don't recommend.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Jets at the Texans. Another game I could probably take a nap through, but we don't really need to do that again. Michael Carter out. I think these running backs were pretty popular commodities on waivers.
True.
It is a good matchup. And you could say for both teams, the running backs were pretty high commodities on waivers. David Johnson was one of your top pickups. I don't really feel great about any of them. Like, I don't want to start any of them. I think it's nasty. But which of the 4 running backs, like Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, David Johnson, and Rex Burkhead, do you feel the best about starting?
I feel the best about starting David Johnson. Some of the younger people playing fantasy won't remember this, but like 3 years ago, number 1 pickup, number 1 guy in the start of the draft, just absolute legend out there. What a killer. And when you're playing with someone just as elite as Sexy Rexy, it's just going to like boost your morale to go out there and perform because you know Sexy Rexy's going to come in behind you and he's going to get the job done. He's going to pound it hard. He's going to take care of business out there. And you just need to bring – you need – he's a hard runner, dude. He runs hard, like trucking down people. I don't know what to say. When you have Tyrod back there, it also alleviates some pressure because obviously Tyrod, he's not, he enjoys those times when he just gets to take off and run, and defenses have to respect it. So David Johnson might not be the read man in some case scenarios and benefit from a couple give me yards, which is always good. And Brandon Cooks can just blow the roof off. So obviously David Johnson's the man. Yeah,
I would like to say Ty Johnson here. I just can't feel great about it.
Right.
Seeing that, number 1, this coaching staff seems to have a love affair with Tevin Coleman, and I am worried about that. David Johnson shared half of the touches with Rex Burkhead, but he was getting the passing game work.
Right.
I kind of grossly believe that Houston can move the ball a little bit better. So I'm going to go David Johnson as well. Not happy about it, but
happy for
I don't think that there's much upside there. I think it's like you hope for a 10-point day. And that's the upside that I'm going with.
I think that's all anyone hopes for is 10 points. But again, I just don't know how the backfield split's going to be for Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson. So that's just why I'm going to stay away from them. Whereas I think David Johnson is going to get the passing work almost guaranteed to go to him and not Sexy Rexy. So I think that upside alone just pushes him over the top of these 4.
949 is breaking necks and cash and checks. He is coming out with some hot firing takes.
I enjoy it.
Michael Carter dropped with Will coming back at quarterback. He destroys the Jets offense. This is a take you can get behind with your rookie quarterbacks.
Get behind. Zach Wilson, for those of you who don't know, he has more games with 2 points than he does with games above 10 points. So is what it is. He's not a very accustomed quarterback to the National Football League yet. Potentially with time he could be, or potentially with time he'll just be the bust that some people, majority actually, say he is. So yeah, just drop Michael Carter. Don't need him on your roster. Don't need Zach Wilson on the roster either. Just get rid of them both.
It's a bold take. I'm
here for.
Yeah, I think I am worried about Zach Wilson coming into this offense. Not that I'm dropping anybody, but Elijah Moore has been someone who's emerged. I think in most cases, you're starting him, but now with Zach Wilson back and seeing the lack of production in this offense and the lack of production he had, are you more worried about starting him and still starting him, or are you putting him out there with no problems, or are you putting him on your bench?
Elijah Moore loses all his fantasy productivity with Zach Wilson in. He had 0.7, 8.7, 5.2, didn't play, and then 0 in the games that Zach Wilson played. If you want to bring those numbers out there for your flex wide receiver 2, go ahead. I don't think it's a smart move to make if Zach Wilson is going to continue to just ignore Elijah Moore like he did in the earlier weeks. Not a guy who, if Zach Wilson plays, I'm in love with now. If Zach Wilson was playing, I was really high on Elijah Moore. He was both of our number 1 waiver wire pickups earlier. I didn't know Zach Wilson was going to be playing now because that would have just brought him to non-pickupable.
I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'm not completely optimistic. I'm putting him in my lineup. I'm worried about any Jet in my lineup. I get that he wasn't productive with Zach Wilson in there, and that's worrying. He was getting targeted a decent amount, and it was not only Zach Wilson's first 4 of his first 5 games, but it was also Elijah Moore's first 4 games. I think that he's gotten better since then, just more of a grasp on this offense and more confidence after putting up weeks like this. I think he's still in like that flex value. I don't know that he's got you have the confidence in him of a wide receiver 2, or someone you're like, okay, he's going to keep up what he's been doing for the last 5 weeks. But I still feel okay about putting him in my lineups this week as a flex option.
Yeah, I mean, that's just going to be you, brother. He has 1 week with double digits with Zach Wilson after Reigns. Not the odds you want it to see. 1 for 6. If I told you there's a 1 in 6 chance that if you eat this piece of pie on Thursday, you're going to lose all your hair. You're not going to take it because you have, such luxurious locks on your head. And I think that's what a lot of fantasy managers are going to do is stay away from Elijah Moore. If Zach Wilson is the guy, we're going to hope and pray that Joe Flacco can, beat this COVID, pass it real quick, and come back out there and just help Elijah Moore to the 13 and then 29.6 fantasy weeks that we just saw. So
we'll see. We got to move along, though. The Chargers at the Broncos. Look at the pen again. There's a lot of.
I'm just doing it just to because you said something. But
okay. Well, yeah. I just want you to be safe. Is all I'm worried about.
Because you are my co-host. You're carrying my child. You are really my whole world right now.
This is news to me. Chargers offense, we go off on Monday night. Mike Williams is back. And that's really the biggest thing for everyone. You're definitely starting Mike Williams now after his monster performance on Monday night, right?
No. Mike Williams, he got the same amount of targets that he's been getting almost consecutively here. He got 6 targets, 1 more than he's been getting since week 6. And he got double digits every single week, except for last week where he got a touchdown. Mike Williams needs a touchdown to get you, obviously, to score. That's what a touchdown is. But Mike Williams needs a touchdown to get you a double-digit fantasy week. He's not a must-start. Denver's defense, I can't put a read on them because they, looked good against bad teams, and then they looked not so good against good teams. So I don't know if Austin Eckler is just going to continue this tear of, 40 points on the ground. That's just unreal. Keenan Allen is their number 1. Mike Williams is a high upside guy, but he's also drastically a big boomer bust guy. I think it's going to be a bust this week, so I'm going to stay away from him.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, there might be some circumstances where you can't help it, but would you rather start an Elijah Moore or Mike Williams?
Mike Williams.
That's kind of the situation you find yourself in.
If that's the situation, I think you go with Mike Williams just because the upside potential is going to be there. Only if it's Mike Williams, if Zach Wilson plays. If Zach Wilson doesn't play, I'm going to take Elijah Moore.
I think it depends on what you want. If you want upside, you're obviously going Mike Williams. If you want stability, scary situation to look at. Scary situation to look at the like stability, or to call it stability, but I'd rather have Elijah Moore.
Yep.
Do you realize that touchdowns count as points in fantasy, Tody?
They do. That is why I said he needs touchdowns to become viable. I mean,
I actually just realized this, so that is very helpful.
Yeah. If you look at Mike Williams, every week he doesn't have a touchdown. He gets you below 10, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 7 points.
The tough thing about Mike Williams is that he's having some weeks 1.6, 2.9, 5.3. Those kind of weeks will lose you like your week in some cases. So you can't really rely on that. If you want upside, though, not many players better to go for than Mike Williams as far as that like boom bust kind of guy. As for Denver, what was that?
Oh, I was just going to say the same way Myles Gaskin is every other week. At least he's like honest about it. He's like, hey, odd week. You want to play me, champ? I'll get you double digits. Then he's like, hey, next week I'm going to take the week off. Not going to play my heart out there. I'm a halftime player. Don't play me. Mike Williams is kind of the same way of, some weeks he's just going to go out there and he's going to be like, hey, I'm not going to catch any of the balls you throw to me, so don't throw me the ball, Justin. And then next week he's like, hey, hit me for 2 touchdowns real quick. So, just have to be having your ear to the ground for that team.
So, as for Denver, this is a defense that's giving up a lot of rushing yards, the most rushing yards in the NFL, and the Chargers. I think you can feel good about starting both of these guys in kind of like your RB2 slot. I don't know out of receiver who else I really like besides Judy. I think Judy's like a safe floor guy.
Right.
And then as well.
You broke up, so I'm just going to guess that you said you're going to start Kendall Hinton. I'm with you. Hinton just has a cool name. Kind of sounds like the Hilton, but it's not. So going to go with him too. But yeah, just the running backs I think are in for a good day. I think Teddy's in for a good day, despite the fact that Los Angeles is number 2 in the league in terms of fantasy points to the wide receivers, which I think they're also pretty good in terms of not allowing a whole lot of passing yards every game. But thankfully for Teddy, he wears 2 gloves, holds onto the football pretty well. He can run the ball, and he can just pretend he's one of the running backs for the day and just, pick up like 50, 60 yards, maybe a touchdown, and be a very viable streaming quarterback for you.
I do want to just say Teddy does not have does not have double-digit rushing yards since week 5.
Right.
But sure. I
gave
don't
him
know that I would throw Teddy out there. Or I feel great about it.
Yeah. I mean, I gave Teddy permission this week, since it is Thanksgiving, to give himself the opportunity to run the ball more.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case.
Yeah. So like I said, insider information is always key. Always accept it and always brag about it to all your friends. If you ever get some insider trading information, just accept it.
You don't. Okay. We cannot say, I don't think we are allowed to say that. As far as the receivers go, Judy, I think it's maybe Tim Patrick. Then I don't think you're touching Courtland Sutton.
I mean, you don't have to. Again, depends on who you want, but it's going to be a tough game for the passers. And if you want to stay away, stay away.
Rams and Green Bay. I promised another pick 'em, and here it is. Rams coming off the bye. Green Bay coming off a devastating loss to the Vikings on a last-second field goal.
A loss is a loss. You can't beat the Vikings.
I think it's a weird game. Like, this is a game you would expect to be a 50-point over-under, and it being less than that kind of surprises me and makes me a little bit skeptical for anybody else. Like, I think the big question here is on the Rams side, the Packers are so easy week to week, typically, as far as it's Aaron Rodgers. It's, in this case, A.J. Dillon if he's the starter. If Aaron
Mhm.
Jones is back, it's Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams. That's it. In the Rams case, we have a few other question marks there. Odell, we saw a little bit of him, but we didn't see much of him in his first game with the
Mhm.
team. And we've
Right.
also seen Darrell Henderson skidding a little bit.
Mhm.
What are your expectations for both of those guys in this one?
So Green Bay is top 10 in terms of fantasy points allowed to every single position. Like it's a tough game for every position. Henderson has been struggling a little bit. I think Odell, like I said earlier, is one of the more talented wide receivers in the league, and especially when you're on a team with Cooper Kupp, who every team has to respect just because of the fact he has such an insane amount of targets already. Probably going for the receiving, scoreboard this year. Probably trying to lift up the Heisman. Going to go back to college to do it, but he's going to do it just because he can. I think OBJ is in for a good day, and I feel confident about starting him as my number 2, especially in a game that I think is going to be just an offensive shootout. I think it's going to be. We saw Green Bay put up 34 last week against the number 1 Vikings defense in the league, probably the world, probably ever. So if they can do that against against Minnesota, they probably do it against the Rams. So I think it's going to be a shootout on both sides of the ball, and those catches and yards have to go somewhere. I think OBJ benefits from that.
Yeah, I don't see this Rams offense struggling in
Mm-hmm.
another game, especially how bad it looked
Right.
2 weeks ago, and then them having a bye week, having more time to prepare, getting Odell kind of just on track and getting
Right.
over that Robbie Woods unfortunate injury. Interesting. Feel better.
Oof. Wi-Fi
What is going on?
Wi-Fi was shut down for a half second.
I can
We're
tell.
back.
There's some
We're back.
issues.
We're here to go.
We are back. I feel better about Henderson. I was a little concerned for week 8 and week 9 when his snap count kind of dipped into the 60s there. He had an injury. He actually had to come out. He was evaluated for concussion. Still got 75% of the snaps in their last game. So I feel better about him. I feel better about Odell. I feel good about Van Jefferson. Like all of these guys, I think are guys that you can throw into your lineup fairly confidently in a game where I expect there to be a lot of points scored. And we do have a question
Mhm.
from 949. Would you play OBJ or Van Jefferson? I think I feel fine playing either of them, but I would
Give,
probably lean OBJ.
give me
Just
OBJ.
when he was out there, we saw him kind of playing in that X role, in that Robbie Woods, like out wide on his own side of the field. I like that. That was very interesting for me to see. Like I was very surprised by that. I thought Van Jefferson would be getting more of those looks, but I like both guys as options to throw in the lineup because I think it is going to be a mix of the two.
Mhm.
But I like OBJ a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm with you. OBJ is the guy that I'm gonna go with over Van Jefferson.
949 all in on the pack this week.
I'll
Heard it
just
here
read it out
first.
loud. I'll read it out loud for the people listening. 949 said it will be a lot of points, but the Packers will blow them out. The Rams got exposed by us. That is a fact. Rams probably the worst team in the NFL. I'm with you. I think that they're all trash. Trap them all, trade them all, get rid of them, send them away for
Two of the
nothing.
best teams in the NFL,
No.
the Minnesota Vikings and the San Francisco 49ers. This
Right.
should be a fun one. I'm relying on you, 949, to get this conversation rolling. Fantasy-wise, pretty easy in Minnesota as it is easy in Green Bay. You're starting the studs, obviously, starting with Tyler Conklin and then
Right.
Dalvin
Right.
Thielen,
Yes.
Justin Jefferson.
Yes.
The question being Kirk Cousins. Are you throwing him out there?
You can throw him out there if you would like. San Francisco is 24th in terms of points to the quarterback. So if there is a week that he can do it, this is a pretty lenient week in terms of his ability to do it. Obviously, when you have all these weapons, the chances of you throwing for a lot of yards and getting a bunch of touchdowns goes up a lot higher than, say, a Zach Wilson of the world, a Baker Mayfield even, who has a lot of talent on the roster, but we just haven't seen him perform quite like Kirk Cousins. I like Kirk. I like him as a fantasy guy. I don't really like him as my real quarterback, but it's neither here nor there. You can start him. Start him all.
Yeah, Niners are giving up the 9th most point to fantasy quarterback. I feel fine about starting Kirk. Kirk has had a very good fantasy season, and I like him in this matchup. As for San Francisco, the running back situation is something that is going to be very interesting to see unfold, because I don't think you can start Jeff Wilson with confidence after what happened last week. Elijah Mitchell was limited in practice today. Correct. So we'll see if he comes back. If he comes back, then I'm definitely throwing him out there. But I'm not sure that I'm feeling good about the running back position in San Francisco if he's not. I could see a game where Jeff Wilson has a monster showing, but it's hard to be banking on that after what happened last week.
Right. I'm with you. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of staying away from the Niner backfield. Elijah Mitchell is the guy that I would go with if I'm going to go with someone. But again, he's got to be healthy. He's got to be out there. He really hasn't disappointed besides against Philly and against the Rams. Besides that, he has got you double digits. So I think you're fine with starting him. He has a good chance to do it. Obviously, you have Debo. Brandon Ayuk's kind of coming into it. George Kittle's coming back into it, as we all hoped and knew he would. And you have Jimmy G back there, very competent quarterback. So pieces are in place for him to be able to, have some leniency in the run game. So I'm with you. Elijah Mitchell is the guy I want if he is healthy. Staying away from Jeff Wilson. Hasty can make a quick return too, potentially. Staying away from him. Just not who I want.
Now, we did bring up Ayuk. Ayuk had a monster game last week.
Correct.
Now, they did use Debo a lot in the running game and didn't really target Debo that much in the passing game. I believe he had 2 targets last game.
That's correct.
What are your thoughts on Ayuk? We've seen big weeks and down weeks. We've kind of got the whole ebb and flow from him throughout the season.
Right. So Brandon Ayuk, I think, is kind of turning a new leaf over, and he's coming back up where we kind of hoped and knew he would. It's Minnesota. Teams can throw on us. It is what it is. Just happens to be that way. Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel are both guys who I'm looking to start, obviously. I'm not really afraid for Brandon Ayuk losing any productivity this game.
I would love to get a score prediction from 949 on this game, by the way. I agree with you, though, with Brandon Ayuk. He's kind of in a spot where you got to put him out there, and if he blows it, he blows it, and if he doesn't, then that's awesome. But you're holding your breath just with seeing the struggle that he's had in certain games and seeing the week that everyone started him kind of bust, and then him have this monster game when everybody kind of put him back on the bench. So I think you just need to put him out there and hope for the best is probably the only option you have.
Correct.
Cleveland at Baltimore. And this Cleveland team has a lot of drama going on right now. This Baltimore team also has a lot of drama going on right now. It looks like Lamar Jackson is going to be back. He was at practice today, I believe. So expectations are for him to be back. I think the spread shows that as well. we talked about Devontae Freeman a good bit on the waiver show.
We did
We
indeed.
both don't expect him to be in the 20-point range anymore because we don't expect him to get 6 catches in a game again this year with Lamar Jackson out there. But I still think that he's an okay running back to put out there in your lineups, seeing how just shallow that position is. Before we get into that, though, it was that was closer, and you got a lot more respect from Niner 49 than I thought you would get.
Yeah, so I'm going to take Minnesota's +3. I'm going to take the +3 this game. Minnesota's taking it. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Minnesota wins either way, either with the spread or just based off of points. Niners, they got a good team, but again, with like such the, haziness in that backfield, no clear number one guy week in, week out who's just going to consistently deliver for them. Makes it kind of tough for them to just drive home of a guy, whereas we have Dalvin Cook who can just run through any human being on earth. So we're fine. Then we got 2 elite wide receivers, probably the best tight end in the league, and an average, if not more than average, accurately good quarterback. So I like the Minnesota's chances to win this game. But hey, thank you for giving yourself 27 points there.
I think you gave him 30.
No, he said 30, 27 Niners. So 27 going to the Niners. I think that's how he wanted to be said.
I understand now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very respectful for him to hand over the win to you guys.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. Nice guy.
Cleveland at Baltimore, Devontae Freeman. What are your thoughts?
Not a guy he wasn't a guy who I was excited to go out and get just because Lamar takes away a lot of value from the running back position. But again, with like the haziness and a lot of backfields, with a lot of committees kind of being formed this year, there's a chance he can perform. Cleveland has been struggling as of late on defense, so there is a good chance that Freeman could break a couple. But like we said, he's not going to get 6 targets out the backfield because Lamar just doesn't hit the running back. Like he really just like looks at him, kind of waves, and then just takes the ball and runs it himself. So there's not a lot of swing passes which other running backs are going to be able to receive. I don't know. I mean, you can play him because obviously running back is thin, but it's not a guy that I'm looking for big numbers from this week.
Yeah, I would kind of say that as well. He's more of a floor guy, try to get you to not lose your week, hope that he can put up like 8 to 12 and fall into the end zone.
Exactly.
That's what you're looking for Devontae Freeman. Looking for a lot more from the Cleveland running backs, especially seeing, as I can say it in the plural now, since Kareem Hunt has been activated off of IR, as has Jack Conklin. So healthier on the offensive line, Kareem Hunt back. Kareem Hunt was a top 10 running back. I do remember before he got hurt, we did a rest of season running backs top 12, and Kareem Hunt was on that list. Do we expect Kareem Hunt to just hop back into being a top 12 running back as soon as he returns this week, if he does return this week?
If he returns, I'm expecting him to have a good week. I'm not expecting him to pop back into the RB1 conversation just yet. But again, Cleveland's whole identity is to run the football. They've shown that by having a quarterback back there who can't throw and wide receivers who just don't want to catch the ball. So obviously they're just doubling down on it of, hey, we're going to run the football every play. So I'm all in. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are going to have good weeks, but I'm just not expecting the RB1 numbers from Kareem Hunt just yet. Baltimore isn't like a scary team to go up against. So I don't know. I'm not expecting big things from him, but I'm expecting him to have a nice stepping stone for 2 weeks from now because they have the bye next week.
Going to our last game to cover in impressive time, if I do say so myself, Seattle at Washington Monday night. It's kind of a battle between an offense that we believe in that isn't producing and an offense that we don't believe in that is producing.
Right.
The Seattle offense has struggled. This whole team has struggled since Russ came back. We expected this offense to just kind of explode, and they haven't. They have had the unfortunate news that Chris Carson is going to be out for the season.
Yes.
I said on our show, I believe yesterday or 2 days ago, don't believe in this backfield at all. I think that the receivers will figure it out and they will be viable. I wouldn't panic on DK, who has had a tough couple of weeks, but I'm not wanting to be involved in any of the backs in this backfield, but I'm definitely starting both of the wide receivers in a game where they face a really good matchup in a Washington defense that is allowing a lot of points to opposing wide receivers.
Right. I'm with you right there. I think Russell figures it out. DK is obviously just a freak athlete, freak in the best way possible. I think Tyler Lockett is an interesting guy. Again, he's a boomer bust guy, but he is a good he's a good wide receiver for them in real football. Alex Collins is not like the worst running back to ever exist. So I think they do have a little bit of a ground game. And I think teams are going to have to respect it a little bit. So, yeah, they're in for a good day, especially against Washington, who is dead last in terms of points to the quarterback. So Russ is going to have a bounce back. DK, Tyler in for good days. Alex Collins in for an okay day.
Agreed. Alex Collins is the running back you want, but I, again, don't really feel great about any of them. As for the Washington side, it kind of brings to this question, would you start Heinicke over Teddy? I talked about yesterday, I feel fine with Taylor Heinicke as a streaming quarterback. I'm back on the train. There was a time that I was heavy on Taylor Heinicke train.
That's true. You were right.
It just so happens that at that time he put up 2 duds, and that was problematic. So I don't know if you want my backing on this question, but
yeah, a little fair one.
I do like Taylor Heinicke as a streaming quarterback this week. And yes, the last time I said that, he put up 9 against Kansas City. So do with that what you will.
Exactly.
But I like Taylor Heinicke this week. I like this offense this week. I like Terry to at least put up a decent day against Seattle secondary that I don't think they've been playing better. The defense has been better. They've had to be because the offense is not doing too much. They're middle of the pack against the pass as far as fantasy points allowed. I still think that Terry could muster up a solid day. Antonio Gibson, I talked about this earlier in the week as well. He had one of his more efficient games that he's had this season. And going against the Seattle defense that has been very susceptible to the run all season, like that's the matchup that people have been circling and saying, okay, my running back's going to go off for pretty much every game. I feel good about Antonio Gibson this week coming off of one of his best performances, even if it wasn't his best fantasy performance.
Right. I'm with you. I think this is a good day for Taylor Heinicke. I like him over Teddy just because the weapons that Taylor Heinicke is having back are it's a lot. I mean, he has Scary Terry. Antonio Gibson's kind of coming into it. Obviously, Seattle is weak against a run, so they can just lean on the run a lot until they start ground the box, flip the field, all that good stuff. Curtis Samuel could potentially play. And Logan Thomas is, I think, coming back from the IR and should potentially play. It is a Monday game, so he has more time to rest, recuperate, and become clear to play. So with all these weapons, I really like Taylor Heinicke this week. And it's hard to not put him in your streaming option if you are streaming quarterbacks.
I do have another question that comes from us. Comes from somebody on our end. I don't know who this could be, but question for you specifically, Tody. Would you start Terry or DK this week if you had the option. This person must have great options, it seems.
Yeah, they must have great options. I honestly would just send them both to their co-host, probably for Emmanuel Sanders and Jacoby Myers. Just share the wealth. It is Thanksgiving, so I would send them there. Yeah.
I don't think that answered the question, but
Oh, if you want me to, I mean, I think DK, if you want me to like answer it for the fans out there, I think DK is going to have a better day than Scary Terry just because his name's Scary. It's not Halloween anymore. It's Thanksgiving. Like, go away. Like, it's not a scary time.
God.
This is a good time of year. Like, no more scariness. Give me only the Terryness, you know?
So, I mean, I didn't put Scary Terry in the or whoever wrote this question didn't put Scary Terry in the question. They just put Terry. So they tried to get rid of the scariness.
They tried.
I think it's you putting the scary on them, I'm going to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
As I think that's it for our games. We do have, as always, our bold predictions to cap off the week.
That is true.
I have a question for you, Cody. Do you remember your bold predictions from last week?
I remember. I know
I wrote mine down. I did not write yours down.
So I went 1-3. I said Cam Newton would be a top 5 quarterback.
You keep doing this thing where you just take an extra one.
No, I only did 3 last week.
You said you went 1-3.
Sorry, 1-2. My bad. I went 1-2. 1 out of 3 is what I meant to say. I know Cam Newton I got right, and I can't remember my other 2. I don't have my laptop with me, but I did know that I think I fumbled the bag and got those other 2 wrong. So
what did you say for Cam Newton? Can you at least recount that for the audience at home?
Top 5 fantasy quarterback on the week. He was QB4 at the end of the week, beating out Danny Dimes, Tom Brady, really just anyone other than a very select few individuals who happen to just stumble into beating him.
I took the lead back, what was rightfully mine for a while. I had the lead. Cody came back, tied it up, and got it back with a good week last week. 2 for 3. I did say that Miles Sanders was going to go for 15. He did not do that.
Correct.
But I had Darnell Mooney as a wide receiver 1. And I think I actually had him as top 8 wide receiver. And I had Elijah Moore as a top 12 wide receiver. Both of those guys came through for me.
They did indeed. I can't remember.
But this is a new week.
Yeah.
New opportunity
to
get back at it. I believe it is 7-6 or 8-7.
Yeah, one of those. All I know.
We'll straighten it out by next week. It's a little bit of a weird episode. But getting into the predictions, I believe you have some ready. So you can go first.
I always have mine ready. As I talked about earlier on the show, I think Myles Gaskin is going to have double-digit fantasy week, even though it is an even week, and he is playing the number 1 defense in the league. Give me Myles Gaskin, 10-plus fantasy points this week. You know, I'm just all in on my man Myles Gaskin.
That is a bold one, as we know. Myles Gaskin, not often in the double-digit conversation.
It's true.
On even weeks. And when I say not often, he hasn't been.
Has never done it. Never done it. Not once. I love him. Absolutely love him this week.
I'm looking around trying to see who my guy is going to be for this. And it's hard because there's no Justin Fields this week. So I can't just go easy and say Justin Fields, top quarterback.
You can't say it. If you speak it into existence, he might actually play.
And I think I might have one.
Let's hear it.
There's been a lot of trash talk. I don't think this is going to happen, by the way. There's some of these that I think are going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Some of
and
these
then there's some that I just want to happen. This is one of the ones that I want to happen. Zach Wilson has, as you said, more 2-point games than anything this year.
I said more.
Zach Wilson. What'd you say?
I said he had more 2 points than double digits. I'm trying to find him. Hold on. Have to scroll pretty far down. Yeah, he has an 18 and a 17 and then a 2.3, 2.6, 7.9, and a 2.04.
I I guess I shouldn't go with Zach Wilson because I don't think that Zach Wilson's going to have a good week, but I can go with Elijah Moore. And
Okay.
I'm going to say that Elijah Moore, once again, is a top 12 wide receiver. I believe in him to maybe not get into that mix, but I think that he is going to be a safe option in your lineups. And a guy that you want to play. I feel like it took them a little bit of time to figure out like what this offense is and who is good within it. And Elijah Moore is one of the few good things within it. So they need to get him the ball if they want any chance. And I think that's what they're going to have to do when they realize that.
Yeah. I gotta look. I wanted to say one, and then I got really nervous, so I'm not gonna say it yet. Dang it! All right, this one I'm not saying it with a whole lot of faith now because it's not Justin Fields that we're going against. But give me some love for the Lions. I think Lions underrated in terms of the defense. Currently 28th out of 32 teams, so not exactly fantastic. Better than some, worse than a few. I said Lions top 5 week for their defense.
Interesting. A defensive pick.
I feel like I should give the Lions some love. I did give them a little bit of hate. I don't feel great because Andy Dalton is probably the most dynamic quarterback for the Bears, like that they could ever even hope to have or acquire. Should be the face of the franchise.
Okay. Me neither. All right, enough. I got mine.
Sure about how I feel now.
I don't have mine, but I just wanted to get you to stop talking about how dynamic that Andy Dalton is.
Andy Dalton might be the best.
I think that a lot of people are going to have – I want to go with a lot of the same ones, and I'm trying to avoid not going with Darnell Mooney, keeping it up. So I have to like regroup and present who I think is going to actually have a decent week. I don't know how bold it is.
Probably not bold at all if you're going to ask.
To say that Michael Pittman is going to be a top 5 wide receiver.
Isn't Michael Pittman currently like wide receiver 7?
Wide receiver 14, I believe.
He's wide receiver 12.
Is it bold to say Michael Pittman gets 2 touchdowns? I'm going to say Michael Pittman gets 2 touchdowns.
I would say that's pretty bold.
Michael Pittman playing in Tampa Bay. This offense, obviously the Colts, one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. One of the best teams in the NFL. Hottest teams in the NFL.
My third pick is here. I'm ready to go. Third pick here.
2 touchdowns from Michael Pittman.
2 touchdowns from Michael Pittman. That's a nice one. I like it. I don't think we've done a touchdown pick yet. That's great. I'm going to go with the guy I said should be one of the number 1 quarterbacks taken off the board this week. I went with Cam Newton last week. Cam Newton proved me right. I'm going to give my trust to Tyrod Taylor to give me a top 5 week for the quarterback position. Currently quarterback 34, so not even a starting quarterback for the National Football League. But I like the guts that he possesses. I love Brandon Cooks. David Johnson, Sexy Rexy, just a dynamic duo in the backfield. Give me some Tyrod Taylor love this week. Top 5 quarterback.
Like it.
So you did go 2 wide receivers, Condo.
Yes.
I'm just saying you haven't done any kicker love yet.
I'm not.
All I'm saying.
Not going to this week. I actually have a plan for next week. So that's why I have to put that off for one more week for the kickers. I'm going to go with a guy that I've had a lot of hate on this year and just worried about the injury and worried about kind of the productivity of the offense. But Antonio Gibson has a great matchup. We saw him be productive last week. I think he's going to be a top 5 running back this week. And you know what? I'm going to say top 5 point scorer in all of fantasy football.
Top 5 player. Interesting. That is, Seattle is a worthy opponent. So, I mean, I give you some credit. They are currently, 31st in terms of points to the running back. I'd say that's pretty bold. I like it, especially with the injury concerns that you've been spewing on him all year. It's fair. It's fair.
I mean, I think we've both been in the same boat there.
I mean, yeah, at least one of us has shares of Pitt or Gibson and Pitt, but mainly Gibson since that's what we're talking about.
Fair enough. That is our bold predictions. We have a couple more last things to get to here. Got Gaskin, Hunt, Sanders, and have to pick two. What would you do considering the Browns have a Sunday night game?
I'm going to go Hunt and Sanders. I am bold on Gaskin, but that's more for my league and my teams. Gaskin has yet to score double digits on an even week. He is playing number one defense in Carolina. Go with Hunt if he does play. Sanders.
Well, that's the challenge here is that you're not going to know if Hunt is going until after Gaskin and Sanders play.
I think you risk it. I think you do. I just think that Hunt's potential is there, especially with a team that refuses to pass the football efficiently. Give me the running back on a team that is just going to run the ball 30 times.
Yeah, I think that I would go the same way there. I would just watch those injury reports and watch throughout the week pretty consistently to see how it's trending for Kareem Hunt playing. If he's putting in full practices, then definitely.
Right.
See what the coaches are saying, see what the injury reports are saying, and just be smart about it. I mean, no, if it's going to be like, if I need 10 points and I just like need to get through the week, that's the kind of week that it's looking like.
Right.
Feel free to go Gaskin. He might get you 10 points. He'll get you, I think he could still get you like an 8.
Yeah, 7 or 8.
But probably not double digits just because of the trends.
Exactly.
Now, if it's looking like Hunt's going to play, if he's putting in full practice and everything like that, do that. But just be smart about it. Like, read all that stuff up, and it's going to – I think that decision's going to take to the last minute on, like, Sunday to see what Kareem Hunt's status looks like.
Right.
Serial killer is always propping us up, and
serial killer
are very happy. We talk about this. Our favorite serial killer. I don't think we like enjoy many, but this would be the one.
Yeah, serial killer. I think I have to take serial killer over second take extra by a hair.
That's a crazy bold statement.
It's a bold one, but in the draft, I think serial killer has killer in the name, whereas second take extra says second in his name. So I think it only makes sense that you put the killer first.
Belongs like second, yeah.
Right, and I think
I think serial killer has shown up now enough to break into the power rankings. I think you have to go up a certain amount of times to be able to get your name on the fan power rankings.
Yeah.
And I think serial killer has earned their spot.
Right.
Sure.
I put them, whoever they are. Love you, whoever you are, by the way. But put you as number one.
It's an awesome avatar as well. Very well illustrated.
Absolutely great.
But thank you, serial killer. Thank you all for participating. Whether it is newcomers like 949, we hope that you keep watching future episodes. We will not be back this week. This is our Thanksgiving ultimate episode for a reason. So we wish you the best in week 12. We will be back on Monday next week to break it all down. As always, return back to our normal Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule. And we'll see you then. Good luck in week 12.
See you all then.
And have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.